Good evening, everyone. So today I am doing live with someone who also has donor conception, has experienced it firsthand, and I'm really excited for it, and also to both speak to her about my experience and hear her story. So yeah, I hope that she will join in a bit. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask them in the chat, and then I'll try to go through them as we go. I'll see if I can invite her in. Not always so good with this Instagram live. I feel like I forget how to do it every single time. So, but hopefully it will work. Fingers crossed. Just see. Other than that, I'm sorry that I haven't been doing so many talks lately, but yeah, it's just been really busy. Okay, hopefully it works now. We'll try and see if it goes through.
Hi!
Hi.
My dog's barking in the background. You can't see him, but he's there. How are you?
How are you?
Hold on 1 second. Hey, T-Rex, enough. Shh, 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 shh. Sorry. Sorry. All right, let me see. Let me just get him real quick. Hey.
No worries.
We're okay. We're okay. Thank you. Shh. He hears me say hello, and he's like, who's here?
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah, our dog does the same.
Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you. I'm happy that you wanted to do this live with me.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been following you and everything that you're advocating for, and I think it's such a amazing thing what you're doing to be on the other side of that too. It like kind of answers a lot of questions for me as a mother, and you know, you being the donor child, it's just you don't really see that story coming out very much, your story. So I'm really happy that you're doing this.
Thank you, and you too.
Thanks.
Just important to get the word out there and to share these family experiences, as it is still quite new.
Yeah.
So I think all the talk and all the positive vibes we can get is very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was actually just having a conversation with someone the other day, and it's, you know, just because it feels normalized to me doesn't mean that it's normalized to the world. I still get shocked reactions when, or even almost like apologetic reactions when I tell people how I conceived. And I would say, you don't know, there's nothing to feel sorry for me for or bad about. I said, this is like the best blessing in the entire world. So yeah. It's, there's still a lot more work to be done. And so this is why I'm happy that you asked me to do this. Because I was like, yes, please, absolutely. I haven't done an IG Live in so long. I need to get back on the horse.
Yeah, me too. And you get I'm always struggling. Yeah,
Especially time. Time is the problem.
I know. So, I think maybe you could start by explaining your situation a little bit, and then I can share a little bit about mine, and then we can just chat and see.
Pat? Sure. Well, I tried to get pregnant a little bit later on in life. And, for some people that's, yeah, I was 38, people are like, oh, I'm fine, I can get pregnant. And yes, there are women who get pregnant later on in life, and it happens for sure. But for me, it didn't. And it was a really uphill battle in trying IVF, IUI, like a million different avenues. And donor conception was always on the table, but it was a really tough hurdle for me to get over. And I was so attached to my genetics that I didn't want to accept this at all. So it took me, I think it was the second time I did IVF, and I did IVF 5 times. The second time I did IVF, it was put on the table that there's an option here if you want a healthy baby. And I was like, absolutely not. A lot of emotions came through of feeling broken as a woman, and not enough as a wife. And it wasn't until, and I think I wasn't going to stop fighting. And I'm going to say this in this perspective, speaking to you, because I wasn't ready to give up my genetics, or I didn't want to stop fighting for that part, because I was just so attached with this idea that we're, ingrained with in society, that this is how you're supposed to have a baby. And, and our table talk whenever you have a baby is, oh, he has your eyes, and oh, they have your personality, and oh, they have this. And there's all these things that I was very attached to. Like, people always said, oh, you look exactly like your mom. So I had dreamed of having this baby girl that looked exactly like me, because that's what I grew up knowing. And that was something that doesn't happen for everybody, but I'll say it's a really big percentage of women, or men as well, that have a really hard time letting go.
Yeah.
And once I let go of, I also felt very threatened by the donor, the donor, I call her the egg lady for my son. So the egg lady, once I felt very threatened by her in the beginning, thinking that she was a person that could produce and I couldn't. It was all of these emotions. And once I saw her as someone who was offering me the best gift in my entire life, that perception, that shift for me was everything. And it's so interesting, because at the time I was like, I want to be anonymous. I wanted to write her a letter. I did want to write her a letter and thanking her for what she has given us. But now I'm just like, gosh, I kind of wish, because to me, they're like, almost like, it feels a little bit like extended family in a sense. I almost wish I knew a little bit more about her, but we don't. But yeah, that's the route that we eventually went with. And once I made that shift, I'm not going to say that all my fears went away, because then it just became replaced with other fears of, am I going to have an attachment to this baby? And I'm a very loving person. So for me to say that, like, I felt like, a little bit of this fear of abandonment, in my sense that I was going to be abandoned in that realm, that he was going to have more of an attachment to my husband than me. I felt like, and then even after I had the baby, there were times when I had written about this actually on my page, where he started calling my husband mommy, mama, and and I had a hard time with that, because at that moment I thought, oh,
Mm.
maybe this is a genetic thing. Like maybe he feels the genetic connection. And
Yeah.
it's like, absolutely not. No, this is just a thing that happens with babies, where they will call you daddy sometimes, or, so um, it was probably only after, I don't know how many months, but I kept on having like little hurdles that would happen. But I have to say that, I mean, from the get-go, even from like pregnancy, I felt so connected, and so in love. I had the best pregnancy. I want to do it. I'm like gonna cry. I want to do it all over again. Um, he is such an amazing child and loves his mommy so much. And he's just, it's the whole nature versus nurture too. Like,
Mm.
if I want to go down that road of saying I see myself in him, which I think is very egotistical, he does have, like, it's the way that you raise this child and love this child to um, just have a beautiful family together, and it has nothing to do with genetics. And to be honest, I always say this too. I say, like, what do we, if we're really gonna talk about genetics, like DNA, right? What do we really care? Because we can only live for so long. So we're not going to see what our lineage looks like, or so what does it matter, really? The whole point is to have a healthy, beautiful baby that you can love and nurture. And that's all that really matters. So I'm so happy that I did it, because I love, my little boy is just absolutely amazing.
I understand. I've seen videos of you with him and he looks adorable, and how you're connected, and I think that's just what you want for a child.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's quite similar to how I have felt with my dad and my family situation. So I'm just, yeah, so happy that other people get to experience how we felt.
Right.
I hope that he grows up feeling very, feeling that it's not very complicated for him.
Right. Right. Well, that's why I'd love to hear your story, and then maybe you can give me some tidbits and pointers on
Mm-hmm.
how and, how,
Mm-hmm.
like, the when we've already started talking about it all, but
I think
it's
that's
just like the continuation of like the story. Like, I'm in the process of making him a picture book, actually, but
yeah,
um,
right.
just like, it's something that I have always known from the very get-go, is and he reads donor books all the time. Like, he loves books. So he'll just pick up the book and start reading it. And he's like, donor book. I said, okay, let's read donor book. So it's good that it's not necessarily on his radar, as he like knows what this means,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just a part of the conversation,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So for me, everyone who doesn't know, I'm donor conceived with a sperm donor. So my parents tried to conceive for almost 6 years, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and they were almost through adoption process and had given up hope, um, any fertility treatment being a possibility for them. And suddenly, in some way, my mom was pregnant. And at that time in Denmark, you could only have anonymous sperm donors, and doctors would advise the parents not to tell the child. And
Right.
that's what a lot of children at my age, or a lot of people, I would
Yeah.
say, who donor conceive, they haven't known from the beginning, or they've found out in their adult life, or maybe they don't even know yet. And I think think that is one of the main reasons why many have complicated feelings towards their condition. So what my parents did was that they instantly knew that they couldn't keep it a secret. I think my mom always says that she just did everything that she could to prevent me from wanting to leave the family or not having them as a part of a family. And she felt like keeping such a big secret or lying about something this big could potentially end up in a situation where I didn't want to have them as close in my life. So
Right.
they made like a children's book with pictures of friends and families and drawings my mom made, and they told like a very, very simple basic story about two people, my mom and dad, who loved each other and wanted a child, but it didn't really happen for them. And then they went to a doctor who knew about how babies were made, and he helped them to get in contact with a man who was nice enough to give sperm to put on mommy's eggs, and then they were pregnant and they were very happy. It's a very basic story,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And I think what it did was that it just got us talking. So we read it as a nighttime story from I was 3 or something like that.
Wow.
And the information, I think, was not so important. It was more that we got to talk about it. I got to ask questions. I knew that it was something that I could just ask or talk to them about it if I ever felt anything or if I wanted to know. And then as I grew older, I understood more and more, and I asked more and more questions of the pictures in the book, or how does this how are these things connected? What does this mean? And so eventually understood what it meant to be donor conceived, I think. And yeah, so one of the things that I hear a lot, I get a lot of messages from parents, and they ask me when to tell. And my advice is always to just tell as soon as possible, because I think it's easier for the parents. I think it's easier for the child, and I think children understands way more than what we give them credit for. So
Absolutely.
even as I've been 5 years or so, it's a cover of my book. It's a drawing I made when I was 5 myself, with an egg
Mm.
surrounded by sperm cells, and I just think it is so great because it just tells about how much a child actually understands when they know that it is important.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's I also get a lot of I get a lot of parents, moms and dads, DMing me saying that they're actually keeping it a secret.
Yeah.
Um, they don't even tell people in their family that they're doing it. And that must be so hard. That
I
must be
think
so hard. And I think that's why these conversations are so important, and hearing other people speaking about how they've spoken, because look, it's not going to be easy just because we're talking about it. It's still, I'm sure hit some areas of confusion, like a lot of um I think it's his right to know also, you know if he wants, what did she look like,
yeah.
what did the donor lady look like, the egg lady look like, and what did her parents look like. I want him to see that, because maybe, I've gotten over the thing of DNA or genetics isn't important, but maybe he wants to know what, these people looked like who gave us, the biggest blessing.
Mm-hmm.
um but maybe not. I don't know. Did you, because yours was anonymous, right? So did you ever hit that hurdle where you were like, oh, I wonder what this guy looked like?
I had a time, so yeah, the donor was anonymous and we know nothing. We have no photos or anything And I had a time when I was in school, I don't remember how, maybe I was 8 or something like that, where I thought about how he might look. And it's also something we've talked a lot about in the family, that everything that is, I do look a lot like my mother, but everything that is very different from hers, we always joke with, oh, that must be from him, or that must be the
Right.
girl. Been like in a positive way. And I think what my parents did that was so important is that they just made me feel so special and so loved. So I've always felt that all of the parts of me that I knew was different, I actually felt that they were special in a very good way.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow made me stand out from, yeah, children
Right.
who made naturally.
And how did you uh, deal with that in school? Like, I just saw one of your TikToks, I think, where you were talking about family tree, and that is something that I don't know if they do it now, especially in LA with all these different ways of being conceived.
I,
But but I wonder, like, how did you handle that?
so I also hope that they move on from this, because I think family situations are so complicated today, and they're so different from what they used to be, that I think maybe it doesn't really make sense, or maybe you should look at a family tree in a different way, and make the child put whatever they want. But especially in that situation, I had a hard time, because my mom is a doctor in clinical geneticist, so I know how she would draw family trees at home from like a professional perspective. So I knew
Right.
a lot more than regular children about genetics and how things work and how you do it properly. So I think I didn't really know what to do. So I told the teacher about my complicated situation, and her response was not what I would have expected. So this was the first time ever where I met someone who didn't believe me, or didn't just hear my story, or wasn't had like sort of a negative reaction towards my donor conception. So I think I was kind of confused, and she actually phoned my parents saying that I was telling lies in school to
Oh,
self more interesting.
oh my gosh.
So she misunderstood the situation. I think it was because I just shared my story so openly, and I wasn't really ashamed of anything. Maybe she even felt that I was a little bit proud of it, and I think she just totally misread that. So yeah, she called my parents and to say that I'm making up stories at school, and then they told her no, it is actually true. And then afterwards, I brought my book to school to explain to my classmates and also my teacher what the situation was. And one of the things people often ask me is how did the other children react? And I must say that I don't remember anyone caring at all. I think they just,
Right. Kids. Yeah.
the kids don't mind. I was
Yeah.
okay, but they were okay with it.
Yeah. I mean, to them, you have, they're your parents. They don't really, yeah.
Exactly. It wasn't very complicated to them.
I I feel like if we didn't, I mean, I don't know about where your area of where you live and how open people are, but I feel like, especially in Los Angeles, I mean, there's, you know, same-sex couples, you
Mm-hmm.
know, have, I mean, we have the gamut. here. So I think he won't be so different in the sense, like not different, but I think, I hate saying that, but sense of like, it's not the norm, right? How like, whatever that means. But technically a lot of kids would be donor conceived because of its same sex. You have to be donor conceived, right? So it's a different type of donor conception, but it's donor conception.
I think it's not in those years, because I think also here in Denmark, for today, it wouldn't be the same. It would also be same-sex couples, or different family constellations that you wouldn't see at the time I was a child. So I think it would already be quite different. And I think that is, now. And I think that is very positive to the children as well, because I think that maybe there's this bigger understanding, both among the kids, but also from maybe the teachers.
Yeah.
I hope so, at least.
I mean, it's not, the thing is, it's not much different, but I feel like we put more emphasis on if we're, male female couple needing, it's like, because you went through infertility and then you made the decision to do donor conception. For some reason, I don't know why it carries more weight than it shouldn't, but it does, because on the flip side, if you're same sex, like I actually spoke to two men, a couple, and they had two boys, and for them, they didn't have the same, obviously, because they didn't go through infertility. They had their own struggles of finding, the surrogate and the egg donor, but there wasn't that emotional attachment to it like there was for me and my husband. And so for them, they're able to speak so openly to their children, obviously, because it's an obvious situation, right? So if we look at it in that sense, why can't we think like they would think, and not keep this a secret, and just, this is the way that we build families, and families are created in all different ways. And it's about love, and it's not really about, how you got here. It's about the fact that we wanted you here. And, we wanted, and all of that, I think, it's just a weird switch, right? It's a weird perception that you have to like look at it differently. But I don't know why there's so much stigma around it. And that's why I really continue to talk about this, because I felt the stigma. I'm almost the type of person where if I feel uncomfortable, I'm going to talk more. So I leaned into the uncomfortable place of knowing that this was taboo to a lot of people that I was speaking to, and I didn't really feel quite right about it, but I did. I spoke anyways, and the more I spoke, the more comfortable I felt, and the more I saw how this actually should feel normal, and it doesn't, and that's wrong that it doesn't. And and there were people that actually told me, and it's true, you don't have to tell people, like when I would talk to like a stranger, like it's your right not to tell somebody. And I'm like, I know, but that's not my truth also. But you're right. I don't have to tell everybody. I don't, but I do, because I want to not educate, but I just kind of, in a way, educate people in a different way.
I feel completely the same. And if you ask my mom, she would say that I felt like that always. Even as a kid, I would try to explain to people and share. And I felt completely the same way, because I always shared with people that I was donor conceived, even though, why would I? And every time when I have to explain that, I'm like, but it just makes everything easier. And then I'm thinking, but what does it make easier, actually? I just
Mm.
feel like maybe I just need to explain because it says a lot about me and my family in some way,
Yeah.
but but maybe it doesn't really to all the people around me.
Right. Right. I know. It is that weird thing. It's like, I don't know, maybe it does make me feel more comfortable speaking. And but it's the truth. Like we don't have to, but we do.
Hmm. But
Oh,
I feel like I I found out that it was important to speak about. I didn't really in the beginning because I think that's also why you don't hear that many stories as mine, the very um, relaxed, positive donor conception stories, is because people don't think to share them.
yeah.
Before I heard about the community, I had a friend who's a lesbian and she asked me about my donor conception. And that was the first time the thought of people maybe benefiting from my experience and how my parents had done things came to my mind. And then I started a blog, and then things has just moved on from there and got bigger and bigger. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
How how have you you were saying, I mean, I have seen a lot of negative feelings with donor conceived adults, I'd say now. And that was scary to me to see that. But yeah, most of the 100% of the time it's because they weren't told and they found out later on in life. But I just, how do you navigate that? Like, are you in communicate like in that? So, you know, like we're all in the donor conception world, right? But I'm speaking to a lot of, and I'm sure you are too, parents. But I actually rarely speak to donor conceived adults or children. Children, obviously, I don't speak to, but do you have communication with people like that, and how have you navigated that?
I think it is hard because I think that some of the people who've been hurt by their donor conception, they kind of take offense that I share a positive story. I think that maybe in some way they feel like I take a bit of their story away from them in some way. I'm not really sure, but I know that they are quite upset with me sharing my experience, and I think that is a shame because I think it's extremely important for them to have their voice so that we can learn from them. But I also think it is so important to share the positive as well, um,
Right.
so that we can learn to navigate this because it is still kind of new ground. So we need to learn how to do this the best way so that the most of these children are happy and have good loving families. I
Yeah.
think that's what I want and why I do what I do. So I have had experiences where some have contacted me and they always try to um, I think they try to say that it's okay if I'm not okay with my situation, and it's okay if I want to meet the donor. And that's
Yeah, because
also great.
that's the big thing is the anonymity, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they're
I,
not.
I, just, I just don't
Yeah.
have, I don't
Right.
want that. It's okay that they want it, but sometimes feel like I'm being forced to something that is not actually how I feel and what I want. And they have a hard time understanding that that is my wish.
I think it is such a touchy subject, and I do feel secrets always. uh, will make, I mean, can break families. And I just can't imagine like what that would feel like, even as parents, like living your life in secrecy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, in my couple, me and my husband and I, in the beginning, he was very adamant about wanting not to tell
Mm-hmm.
our son. And this is like before we had even done this. I said, well, I will 100% not going through this unless we are able to speak about it. Because
Mm-hmm.
part of this was like, one, you're adding shame to this if we're not able to speak about it. And two, you're negating our actual journey. You know, this is part of our story of family building, and I want to celebrate that.
Yeah.
I don't want to put shame on that and say, oh, you know, well, this is how we had to have a baby, you know, because I couldn't conceive. No, that's not the story. The story is we climbed a freaking mountain and we
Yeah.
got to the top, and this awesome woman gave us the best gift ever. And here we are today, you know, and I think it's important for other couples to see that too. And
I completely.
yeah, you know, it's just it's hard. It's really hard and it feels uncomfortable sometimes, but it'll be a lot harder later on. And I have some people saying, like, how do you even talk to other people about it? Like, how do you talk to family members about it, you know, in the beginning stages of the process? And I'm like, it's never going to feel good. You just got to do it. Like, rip the Band-Aid off, do
Yeah.
it. And I think once you do it once and then twice, maybe start speaking to your barista when you go to Starbucks and you get a coffee and, you know, say it there just to kind of get comfortable with speaking about it.
And I think that is actually a very important point also in talking to the child, because you also need to get used to the story and to tell that story, to be able to tell it to the child. So if you haven't spoken about it and you plan on telling the child when the child turns 8 or something, that is a very, very difficult conversation to have, because what do you say? You haven't really, in some way you got to rehearse it and try to say the words. How do they feel in your mouth? What are you gonna say? How? When?
Right. Even to a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, I even think like that's got to be really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
They've
That will.
never, yeah, like we've never had the idea of this at by like 6. You're just, I think it's already like hard, really hard.
Yeah.
But I bet you they would get over it quicker than at 8.
Yeah. Someone asked, at what age should you tell? I would just say, as soon as the baby is there, just start telling. Start
Yeah,
telling. First thing for yourself, and then you don't know when the child will understand, but they will understand eventually, and they will understand a lot before they're 8 and even before they're 6.
yeah. And I think the how is the hard part, but
Mm-hmm.
not really. I mean, because always what I hear from people are, you know, the idea of a book, you know,
Yeah.
like a picture book, even taking pictures of your family. If you have pictures of the donor and you want to put it in there as like just acknowledging what this person, you know, has done for you and what they look like. If it's not anonymous, like I'm still anonymous, like we were anonymous, but I know what, I'm fortunate enough to know what she looks like. I think later, like now they're doing that or some
Mm-hmm.
countries still actually. I think in your parts of the woods, like Spain and all of that, like there's no, I remember I was going to go to Spain to do it. And they were like, just send me a picture of you and we'll match you, but you don't get to know what she looks like. And I was like, oh, no, I want to know. But we were fortunate enough to know. But yeah, just making like picture books, telling stories, and getting other books. There's so many books out there that are really great.
There are now. Yeah, I know. There wasn't at that time, but it's great that there are now. Makes it easier for
Sure.
parents.
Wow, you had really good renegade parents for just like paving the way, weren't they?
Yeah, they did. I feel so lucky. I
Yeah. Should we see if there's questions here? I don't know. But okay, not that.
there was what age, and then never anyone's first choice, but doesn't mean it's a bad choice, someone say. Mm. How are we doing with connection? Hmm. Oh well. We'll see if we can connect again.
I disappeared for a little bit.
Yeah, you froze, and I was like, and then you disappeared.
I'm like, oh Lord, technology, we love it,
Yeah.
but holy cow. Yeah, I don't see any. Do you see any good questions on there?
No, more like comments. Someone's asked a question. Both my children, 4 and 7, know, but how should the telling change as they grow? Um, I'm not
Hmm.
sure how the telling should change. I think maybe that is also very different depending on the needs of the child, I guess, how they feel, what they want to, because I think it would be very different how much children also needs to talk about it. Um, I wouldn't know. I can only speak for myself, but I've just asked questions and my parents have answered them whenever there was something, and we've spoken about it in the periods where it has occupied my mind more than others because it has varied a lot through life. Um, so yeah, I think that was just how we went about it.
And you have other siblings that were not donor conceived as well, right?
Yeah, so we have a complicated family situation as I have two younger sisters who are twins and they are not donor conceived because of the ICSI method becoming a possibility in Denmark at that time. So yeah, I think we're just a bit under 2 years apart. And
Wow.
yeah, but I feel so lucky that I got to have siblings. And yeah, they're amazing. And it hasn't really had impact on, or it has not had any impact on our relationship. It has, from time to time, had a bit of impact on how I felt in the family when we were very intensely together, like when on a vacation or something like that. But I think that has more been due to them being twins than me being donor conceived and
Yeah.
them not. Because
And young, and maybe young,
yeah,
younger.
I know through teenage years you would be confused and thinking about a lot of stuff anyway. So I just
Right.
yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, no, I mean that must be hard, but yeah, they're twins, so there's that whole other element.
Yeah.
Regardless, I think you will have some kind of things going on if you have twins and then
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
But I'm very lucky. I'm so grateful for them. So now I think there's a lot of questions actually.
I'll let you
Um,
look so I don't freeze it.
someone saying just thank you for sharing, and someone's asking that you speak to parents that keeps putting off telling. What advice can you give those parents?
Say that again.
What advice can you give the parents that keep off from telling the child? Just do it.
Do it. Rip off the Band-Aid and do it.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Just make a book.
Mm-hmm.
Make a book.
So someone
Or
is
maybe start reading other books too first, and then make your own book.
Mm-hmm. So I think this one must be for you, because someone's asked, how do you feel about finding the child's half siblings?
Right. You know, I thought about that. I actually do know that the donor has a son. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think at first I was really reluctant and again felt threatened. But it's not my place to feel threatened with that. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if it's something that he wants to, explore later on in life, then I feel like he has every right to.
Mm-hmm.
If that's something, if he even feels a connection to that. But, you know, I'll say it's not something that I'm going to be pushing. But if it's something that he comes to me and says, I want to explore this, then I would be open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the person just wrote and said that the question was for me, but
Okay, so how do you feel?
I I've always felt like, I think maybe because I do have siblings, I've never wanted to know. I think in some way I feel like I have enough in my own family,
Right.
and I can't really see how it would change. Maybe I would meet nice people that I would have similarities with, but I can't really see how it would change anything in my life.
Like it's a label in a sense, right? Like to have like a half sibling to me sometimes feels like yes, it's real, but it also to me can feel like a label that you're just putting on something. Like it depends on the importance of the genetics that
I
like you said,
completely,
like you have siblings.
I have siblings, and even though I would know that they will have siblings, they would never be family. I have
Right,
my,
right, right.
so I think that's how I feel about them, and also the same goes for my donor. But we do actually talk about that these things might change throughout life. You never know.
Mm,
Uh, my parents pass away, or when I someday want to have kids myself, it might change how I feel. I might feel a need to seek out either the donor or other people with same genetics as I have from that side.
right, right. That's true. It just like you almost have to be like open to letting it evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. No restraints. I think the more that you like restrain, the more that it's going to become a problem. I think just you got to kind of be open. And as much as it hurts, sometimes you just have to understand that everybody has their own journey.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, we'll see. There are a lot of comments, but yeah, getting confused. uh, can't really see if any questions for us at the moment.
All right. A lot of them might be like, oh, hey, Prison Break fans, Scorpions. I saw a lot of those. Can you say hi to me? Can you do this? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this was lovely. I'm so happy that you asked me to do this, and I'm glad that I had the time to do it, and you had the time to do it.
Thank you.
I think it's so important, and especially now during the holidays, I think so many people are in this place of, you know, not feeling donor conception sometimes can feel daunting for people and making that choice. And I think it's really important for us to highlight how great it is and how you have come out and you're doing all these amazing things and advocating for donor children and adults, and I'm advocating for donor conception and how great it is. So it's awesome. So thank you for having me.
And much. It was lovely to meet you.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll speak to you hopefully.
Yeah, we'll do this again in the new year. Okay, have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, thanks. Bye.